Hey y'all. Hey you fools. It's all about the fool and being the fool and playing the fool. And so be full. Be a fool. Be a fool. Be an empty fool. Be the all fool, be the nothing fool. And so, yeah, I'm nudged to tell some stories today and to share some of my tools from my alchemy toolbox and some of the things that I've learned and I've gathered. Lifelong gatherings of thread, weaving my tapestry, and what's true and what's right and what resonates and is aligned with my being and my soul, my whole being. And yeah, it's been really freaking amazing, really, to see it unfold, especially like working really, really hard. When working hard, like the last 4 years, because I was called. I answered the call. And yeah, that's a nice metaphor too, and there's a lot that goes along with like hearing that call and either ignoring that call or answering the call, and it has to do with like the hero's journey. It's like being pulled outward, being taken away from the home that we've ever known, the only home or the only community or the only life that we've ever known, to go on a journey to really like discover things and to find ourselves, and then to come back home and share with our community and with the world what we've learned and what we've grown. And so yeah, that's pretty cool, like bringing it back into the world, like going within and then coming back out into the world and expressing it and sharing it and offering it and giving it. Yeah, giving what we've received, like, for those who are thirsty and those who are in need, you know. And so that's beautiful to me. Then it goes along with like a lot of mythology, and I've always loved mythology. And like my dad, he was a big reader. He's a bibliophile, and me and my sisters picked that up from him. We were big readers. We love stories. We love reading. We just have like such a great love instilled in us, and reading and books. Books were always associated with family time and together time and intimacy and sharing and all of that. And just, yeah, we're just kind of like that. So we all have like inquisitive minds and kind of curious and all of that. And I'll always be grateful for my dad for sharing myths, the Greek myths, and other stories and fairy tales with me, because that was so amazing. Yeah, and some of my books, or my favorite books from my childhood, were like those fairy tales and stories. And one of them was a book by C.S. Lewis called Till We Have Faces. And that book really, really resonated and pulled on my heartstrings because of the story about the scorned, ugly sister, the older sister, who was not loved. She was unloved, but she was strong, and she loved her beloved sister, and would have done anything for her sister Psyche. So that all the Greek myths, they did touch me in certain ways that I couldn't explain, but I knew like in my heart like, they were true in some way. They had to be. And so just discovering things as I'm older now, and I see like what my soul was trying to tell me about these stories and these myths and how important they are. And it's like, yeah, that makes me think of the smith, which is the alchemist. Yeah. And that's who I am. So that's who I get to be. And I'm a storyteller, and I'm a poet, and I'm a free being. And I get to express, and I get to share, and I get to live and be me. And so I get to show up, and I get to be myself, and I get to share myself. And that's the love that I have to give. Be, receive, and cultivate, and appreciate, and honor for me and we. So that's love. That's love for me, and that's love for me and we. Like taking care of me and showing up for me and supporting myself in all of my well-being so that my well is full and I can share and bring forth and generate and give and create. And so yeah, I wanted to offer stories and tools and personal experiences and everything that's helped me and everything that I've gathered to put in my toolbox. And maybe you can relate. And there's no wrong way. There's no wrong way to heal. There's no wrong way to play. There's no wrong way to be. Just wake up and play. And that's what Spirit was telling me a couple years ago in 2016 when I started writing. I just had all of these streams after I had like this huge blockage removed. It was like a huge thing that happened. It was a huge implanted belief that was lifted from my shoulders. And it was after some really heart-opening practices of forgiveness, of being willing to let go of stuff, being willing to let go of injury and trauma, and like all of that, like blame and everything like that I had held towards the atrocities that, you know, our government and like freaking external authority has perpetrated on all life, like for the longest time. Because I'm aware of a lot of it. I'm aware of much of it. I'm aware of our history. I'm aware of what's happening now. And that's why I would always numb myself, medicate myself, check out. That's why I never wanted to be here. I didn't feel like I belonged here anyways. Like I had this implanted belief that I didn't belong here and that I shouldn't be here and that there must have been some mistake that I was here because it was just not... It felt wrong to me, and so because the world felt so wrong to me, I felt wrong for being too. I felt like, well, there's something wrong with the world, or there's something wrong with me, or maybe it's both. And so it's just all wrong. And I had that awareness, you know. I had this like really deep melancholy as a child, sadness, really empathetic, really sensitive. I would cry at the drop of the hat when I would see anything or hear any stories about suffering or pain or violence to innocence. It would break my heart. So it was really hard for me to be here. And so I never wanted to be here or be with what was hurting, you know, because it hurt so bad. So I avoided it for a long time. It's too much for me to really deal with. I didn't know what to do with it. So I would always just shove it down, distract myself, and yeah, check out and whatever else, whatever we learn to do to survive and protect ourselves. But I had gone through a lot of different processes and everything throughout my life, and I want to bring that up probably in the next video to share like certain stories that really had an impact and has colored like the lenses and opened the perceptions that I have through my life experience, through my direct personal experience of being and being me and being a being on our beautiful planet, Mother Earth, Gaia. So I do want to read this little invocation. It's by J. McCloskey, and I really loved him and his work and his art. All his wisdom that he shares, and the parts that he plays to share and offer his gifts. Yeah. So, to the ancestors and ancients, to the family tree, to all who have gone before and are to come, to our sacred Gaia, our dear Mother Earth, and her generous heart, we send our love, our gratitude, our forgiveness of one another and of ourselves. We express here and now our willingness to be finally worthy of this great gift and responsibility of being the human form divine. Let us share from across the ages our most loving and creative stories of being human, simply because we can. Amen to that. So what kind of stories are we sharing? What kind of stories are we sharing, and what kind of stories are we writing? What kind of stories are we playing in? Yeah, or playing at, or pretending. What's a true story? Sometimes we outgrow, you know, or we change that story, or we let it go. That's so it's kind of interesting, the stories that we have, the stories that we tell each other, the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we construct to build our identities or our reality or our notions, assumptions, and all of that. And that's okay to have stories. We all have stories. Like, that's like kind of where it's at. And just look at the stories and use stories. Stories are such a powerful tool for understanding certain concepts that really can't be conveyed in a logical sense sometimes. And we need the irrational. We need it. We do need that. And that's the thing that's been missing. And so that's the feminine, the irrational intelligence that is inner knowing. And like, those things are right-brained, and it's creativity. And, you know, like, that's kind of like what we have kind of flattened out of us when we go through the school system of indoctrination and killing our imagination and conforming us and putting us in little boxes, little prisons, prisons for the mind. So yeah, I mean, that's just what it is, okay? Like, they've structured it that way for a certain reason, so that we have amnesia and we don't remember who we really are. And so yeah, that's just what we get to remember and practice and be open to receiving and choosing for ourselves, going on our own journey to find ourselves, our own hero's journey. And so, yeah, we're always finding ourselves, we're always losing ourselves, we're always forgetting ourselves, we remember ourselves. And it's just a dance and a play. And so, yeah. What kind of stories do you like? What kind of stories do you tell? What are your favorite shows? Yeah. What are your favorite, like, descriptions, your scripts? What are your favorite images? What are you devoted to? You know, like, where do you put your energy? Where do you put it into? And so it's kind of funny that entertainment is kind of a hijacking, because it's a passive action, I suppose. But celebration is active, and that's active engagement with life, and that's engagement. And so that's kind of funny too. Like, you're engaged to life, devoted to life and to livelihood and to being alive, you know. So all these characters that we play on this grand stage, like, it's just kind of funny how some of them we don't like, some of them we hate, some of them we love and adore, some of them we're jealous of or we want to be. Some of them, you know, like, they're just like little supporting roles and whatnot. Some are starring roles, and we're these stars in our own stories. Like, of course, we're the stars of our own stories, and then we have like all of these supporting roles that are with us. And we are in our own little bubbles. That's for damn sure. So I don't know if you guys have ever read Carlos Castaneda or anything, but I've read a few of his books over the years, and they're pretty trippy and wild. And I have to say that from my own personal experience, I agree that there are those other realities. There's definitely non-ordinary realities. Also with Stanislav Grof, he's a psychologist who experimented with psychedelics, and he has a ton of stories in his book, When the Impossible Happens. And from my own experiences with mystical visions and paranormal experiences and psychedelic medicines, I can say there are definitely more realities than we are aware of in this ordinary reality. And so, yeah, hopefully, like, people are receptive, or, yeah, maybe you will be receptive to that, because there's not just one level of consciousness or one reality. And so, like, can we understand that, and can we allow that, and can we accept that that is? Because, I mean, like, if we can't, like, then we have no imagination, or we get to cultivate that imagination again, you know? Like, that imagination is, like, part of our alchemical vessel for transformation and change, discovering and exploring and creating. Like that, our imagination is that portal, you know? So if man was created in God's image, like it really is like a tool of our imagination to work for God to work through. Like, so let's not discount that, okay? Like the imagination is very important, and that's how like we do create our reality through. And so who's hijacked our imaginations, or who's using our imagination, or who is implanting seeds into our imagination and usurping our power to create? And that's like maybe something good to look at. So, and yeah, some of the things that I was starting to understand, or that I was being given, was that we get to forgive ourselves, and all we need be willing to do is be willing to choose that. Even if we don't know how to forgive like certain things, we can just say, I am willing to. And we can ask ourselves questions, or we can just be with how we're feeling and allow ourselves to feel what we feel while holding the space, holding that space for us to feel it and heal it and reveal it, like what's asking for integration and inclusivity, or release, or forgiveness, or a new possibility, and recycling that and giving it back and honoring it for the whole. And so, yeah. If we don't know where to start too, it's kind of hard, I feel like. And I just had all of these things that just fell into my lap as I needed them, and they were meant for me, and I was open to the receptivity and the possibility, and just drawn towards things that I love, because that's what it's all about. The things that we're drawn to and that we have natural like inclination towards, or our dreams when we were children. Go back and look at when you were a child, like what did you want to be, or what was the most coolest thing? What made you the most curious? And what made you feel free and alive and all of that? Like, because that's our life turn-ons. So what turns you on? And so in one of my books years ago, I was reading, I think it was Aphrodite's Daughters by Yalaha Bonheim. And she had suggested to write a little list of your top 10 life turn-ons. So I took that advice and I was like, oh, I like that. And so write those down, your top 10 life turn-ons. What makes you feel most alive, like most passionate, most fulfilled? What do you love the most? What like springs a spark? What's generative for you? What is it that makes you feel alive, and that that life really needs too from you, you know, and wants to be through you, and wants to create and express with you, through you, for you, like with you, in you, like all of that. So get a top 10 little turn-on list and see how often you choose those things versus how much you choose the convenient thing, or what everybody else wants you to, you know, be. And like kind of pay attention to that. Like, how often are you choosing what you really love and what makes you feel alive? Because if we're not choosing that, we're fooling ourselves into thinking that we're alive, you know? I mean, we can be alive, but we're only half alive. Like, if we're not like really claiming like what makes us feel alive, and what feeds our life, what nourishes our life, what regenerates and helps us renew and grow our life. And so, yeah, it's good to look at. And so, yeah, I had written down like all the things that I love and all the things that like, yeah, turn me on. And so I put them in my bathroom and just up by the mirror, so I would see them every single day. And I would look at that and I would see, what am I choosing today? And some days it would be like, oh, I haven't chosen any of those things for a while. And it was like, I wonder why I'm not choosing what I really love. And so that kind of planted a seed. And a question formed, like, okay, well, what am I choosing? Like, are there choices that I'm not aware of in certain ways? And like, can I choose, like, yeah, to show up for these things that I love and regenerate and, yeah, live, to give and be and express. And so, yeah, that's what I got to do, and that's what I got to free. And it wasn't like an overnight thing, but it was just kind of something that helped plant some seeds. And hello, phone. Oh darn! There's the trickster. It's all good. So, yeah, expression and celebration, and that's what I kind of got about. Yeah, certain things life wants to express and life wants to be celebrated. And so, like, since I always medicated myself and suppressed and oppressed and repressed and depressed myself, I knew that it was like my soul wanted to express and be able to be allowed, like, because she had so much to give me and offer me and like hold that she was holding for me. And yeah, I wouldn't have even known if I wouldn't have allowed me to feel all those things and listen. So expression, the action of pressing out, an action of manifesting a feeling or putting into words. Vividness, a pressing out, a projection, represents or describes an action or creation that expresses feelings. So it's emotions too. Emotions and creativity. And emotions are just energy in motion. And so are we. I don't know. Are we? Yeah. Are we expressing that? Or are we repressing that, suppressing that? What are we doing with it? Okay. So, expressing. And a description too. It's kind of funny. So what I started doing, because I've always liked writing and stuff, but I kind of, I don't know, I didn't think I was very, very good at it, but that was like one of my favorite things in school was writing, creative writing, and it just made me really happy to do, and that's one of the things that I wanted to be when I was a kid, was a writer. And so, yeah, that's pretty fun that I get to write, and it's for me, you know, and I get to share it with others who want to receive. But anyway, like, yeah, I had this huge awakening when this implanted belief, like, was lifted from me, like, after forgiving and being willing. And what happened was I felt this huge weight just come off, like, my entire body, and it just felt like 200 pounds, like this weight that I'd been carrying, like Atlas, carrying the world on my shoulders. Just was lifted and it dissolved, and it was just the most amazing feeling that I've ever felt. Like, it was just undeniable, like just what kind of a space and what it freed up for me. And then I was able to start to explore and start to look into other things after that was cleared, you know. And I started writing, and I got all of these things and communications with my dear Mother Earth and my spirit guides, and my higher soul, my heart, and my true self, my whole self. So, started writing, and I wrote, and I filled up so many books and journals and everything. But the first thing that I did too was like, I got like a sketchbook, and this is a journal that one of my friends just sent me like a couple weeks ago or so, and but like it's kind of a sketchbook sort of a thing with no lines, so it was like kind of like to help me get out of the lines, or like get out of the box, or know that it didn't have to be like any certain way, and it could be enough like as it was, and it could be anything. And so one of my first strategies was, okay, I'm going to allow myself to express anything and everything I need for me in my writing, so that like I know that I'm not writing it for anyone else to see or receive, but it is for me, and then I don't have to worry about or like, you know, suppress myself and think anything is wrong for me to say, because like, hello, wake up and play, let me express. Yeah, let me express and play, okay? And so that's like just kind of how I started expressing myself, like through that medium. And I just got the most beautiful songs, stories, wisdom, and insights into things. And so, yeah, that was a really good practice for me. And then like all of these things started coming in, with, I didn't know it at the time, but it was kind of like channeling, you know? And it was the funniest thing. And then I realized one night when I couldn't sleep and I just had all this energy and I was just like, okay, I'll just play with it. I'll just work with it. I'm not going to tell myself that, oh crap, I'm going to feel crappy in the morning, or, and like, oh, it's this way, or this is what it's about. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not going to like suppress this, so I'm just going to work with it and see what I can do with it. So I just started writing, and it was getting expensive to keep buying all those sketchbooks because I was going through so many journals. So we just kind of had like all these binders and I put like printer paper in them and just like write out all this stuff, like however it wanted to come out. And like it didn't have to be neat, and it could be like just sloppy chicken scratch scrawl, just whatever, just like just don't hinder it, like just like let it be and let it set free, let the energy like be expressed through me. And so it's kind of funny, like yeah, just streaming in this divine wisdom that was so funny and so clever, and it was hilarious, and I was just getting all these things about it, and it was like, oh my God, you're so funny, you're such a funny motherfucker, oh my God, I love you, God. Like, and he just wanted to play, and he was just being so playful and funny, and it was just so childlike and so joyful, and it was just like so great, so pure, and so fun, like such fun love. So that's what I realized. Oh gosh, we are like, we've been taught to be so pious or whatever, and so righteous, and such a like a kind of like falsely humble and whatnot, that we can't even claim like our true joy and our true power and our true love and our expression for ourselves. And so that's what's needed, is play and creativity. And so it's like permission to be, an expression, free self-expression. And so I was willing to like explore that and investigate that and like cultivate that. And so I just kept working with it because it was really enjoyable too. And just getting more things about everything. So it was just like, just ask and ye shall receive, and just keep working with it, like, and all that. So asking questions and writing feelings and stories and perceptions or experiences down, and like whatever wants to come through and or out, yeah, pressing out. And so that's a huge deal, that like a part of us, like we really need to give that for giving, you know, for giving to ourselves and sharing with others. So that's part of the process, to give, so that we have cleared some space, or made space, made room to receive. Yeah, it's part of the exchange. So yeah, so other things that I worked with was just kind of spontaneous art, or like kind of intuitive art and an expression. Like that was like maybe a little while longer, but like it was just giving myself permission, like to choose what I wanted to do, like really what my soul was asking me to do, and letting go of how I thought it needed to be, or how I thought I needed to be to choose it, and like really looking at my choices. What am I choosing? And I realized, oh my gosh, after feeling like so isolated and lonely and like really not supported, and not having like what I felt were optimal intimate relationships and closeness with people. Although I know like we have our own levels of comfort when it comes to authenticity and vulnerability and depth. Like seems like a lot of people are afraid to go deep, or they're afraid of like being hurt or real connection sometimes, or maybe they're afraid of being themselves and being like ridiculed or rejected and all of that. So yeah, I have compassion for that. But it really did make me feel like really frustrated, where I want to merge and I want to connect and I want to be deep with people, and I don't want small talk and I don't want fakeness and I don't want gossip. And so like I'm an introvert anyway, and so it just kind of felt like a loner a lot of my life, where yeah, I'm different, I'm a black sheep, I'm an ugly duckling, like what's wrong with me? Because I don't like all that other pop culture or wannabe stuff, like, and the celebrity worship was never my thing. So for like, with the exception of a few, a few music bands when I was a teen, like The Cure, just kind of funny, and all that silliness. So, um, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But I'll pick it back up. But yeah, the celebrity worship and that kind of bullshit, cult of personality, I was never really into that. And it didn't really ever appeal to me. And I kind of just thought, man, that's just a bunch of bullshit, you know? And in hindsight, I can see why. Like, I kind of knew that already. Like, they're like these culture deities are new deities. And like, that's like our the freaking role models or the virtues or the values or whatever that we gotta have and be and want, and because we were lacking, or because we should live vicariously through like all of that and that nonsense, you know. But anyways, like, to each their own. That wasn't me. So yeah, I always felt like, yeah, an orphan or an exile, like freaking why, you know. Yeah, why is it like this here? But anyways, yeah, that was just to help me, yeah, learn things about me and discover me and discover what was right and true. And one of my first questions before all those streams came through was, and I got it from my sister, talking through my sister, so that was expressing and sharing and vulnerable sharing, yeah, what I was going through, and she was also sharing what she was going through, and we got to have these good exchanges like during this time. So that was great. That was my twin sister, so it was awesome. And she suggested to me, she's like, well, why don't you ask what's right about this, and why don't you ask what you can contribute and who you can be and who you are and what you can free, like to serve and give in gifts in only the ways that you can and only the ways that you can be. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. That's a great question. So I did take these questions and I did go within and I did sit with my heart and my Mother Earth, and I asked her all of these questions and she gave me the answers and she showed me things. And so I would record those things and work with them. And so I've developed this thing called play practice. So it's like alchemy is play and it's practice. So it's like making the sacred space to like invite that play in the fields of energy that we exist in. And there's a field of energy within, and there's fields and fields within this field. So getting a lot of those things and starting to develop like certain things that helped keep me on track and give me a little insight about like what was kind of happening and unfolding, and just like, oh, okay, I just get to work with this, I get to play with this, I get to create with this, and I get to learn and build myself up and structure whole new ways of being with this, like through this work. And because it's like the work that I need, and it's the work that I get to share, cultivate, and be like an offer to we through me, like through my being. So that's like the coolest thing too. Like I knew like in certain ways I'd be serving others and helping others and sharing with others, like through these things that I was learning, and like through the feminine arts of healing. And I didn't know at the time that that's what it was, but then as I went along, I got more and more about like what this was actually doing and what it is. And it's kind of funny. All of it, really. How cool it is. What a gift it is. Yeah. And I'm glad I got to choose it and be open to like the possibilities of receiving it and honoring what was being given, and honoring what my soul was asking me, and what my Mother Earth was asking me too, because I asked her what I could do for her, because I didn't know what else to do. Like everything just seemed so chaotic and so untrue and just so out of balance that I broke down and I asked her, what can I do for you? What do you need from me? I'm willing to give my life to you. I'm willing to dive, to do whatever you need. Like, just how can I help you? And that was like, yeah, the first time I heard her answer me. And she said, show up and be yourself. Be all of yourself and be love for yourself. And I said, well, yes, of course, I'll do that. I'm willing to do that. I'll do any of that for you, and I'll do that for us. I'll do that for all of we. And then I thought about it, and I was like, but I'm not even really sure how. So how do I show up and be myself? Because there's so many layers that we've built up to protect ourselves. How do we really show up and be who we really are if we're not really being, or being who we are, or playing at being something else? And so yeah, she just gave me all of these transmissions of like these lessons in alchemy, like little step-by-step things like that were so simple and just really beautiful to take and kind of appreciate and put into practice and play with them, practice. And so yeah, some of it's really, really fun, but some of it, like, it takes effort and dedication and like a willingness to be accountable and just to own stuff. And really, when we're doing this work too, we'll know when we're not because the tower will come and collapse, and if we're like, yeah, something's kind of out of tune or misaligned or something, it'll come bite us in the butt, like in certain ways, like when we've committed. But just to help us like keep us on track, it's just like a little pop quiz. And sometimes like we're spinning so many plates in the air, and sometimes one crashes down, and that's okay. Like, it's just what it is, and like it's just kind of like a dance, and it's a balance. So that's what it is. And so archetypes, I started noticing characters coming out to play, and it was just kind of funny in different ways. And I've always loved stories, so like this is really fun for me, and I was always interested in like learning more about the psyche and stuff and psychology, but I just never thought like I could, or whatever, silly beliefs. But I was able to let go of those beliefs and just say, I get to be a beginner. I get to allow myself to make mistakes. I get to allow myself to be shitty. I get to allow myself to learn. I give myself permission to do new things, to try new things, to be silly, and to play, and to learn, and discover me. So that was like pretty good, like giving ourselves permission. Sometimes that's like one of the biggest things that we really need. And we can give ourselves that permission, like to be and to learn and to grow and to change. And so I think Sue Monk Kidd said in one of her books, I think it was The Dissident Daughter, everyone needs a permission giver. And so like, yeah, if you can't give that permission to yourselves, like ask someone else to tell you that you have that permission, because it really does help seal that well. It's like, oh yeah, I do have my own permission to be, my own permission to change, learn, grow, make mistakes, be whole and be well and be full and be free, be all that I am, be all my love for me. So getting all this like poetry and just imagery and like visions and streams and everything, it's like really freaking amazing bliss bunny magic for me too. And yeah, kind of hard sometimes to know what to do with it, but like just loving it. And just being with it, being willing to receive it, and all the gifts. So it really is a play and a game and a stage. So the archetypal play, it's a game, a play, a stage, all roles for us to play, the sacred and profane, magical, mundane, the glorious and vain, a show type stage of play of the characters we play. We need all the parts and all the actors, all the roles for the story to be coherent and the fullness to be told. So yay, let's play. Imagination, visioning, dreaming, change, art, creativity, exploring, discovering, learning, growth, and alchemy, authenticity. So play, participate, engage, personal, impersonal, help me navigate all things, this oceanic energy of which I am a part. I am related and connected. I am a part of all things. So like really, let's invite that inner child back to ourselves and nurture that inner child. Ask our inner child what our inner child wants to do and play with, and like what our muse needs, you know, or what our muse can offer us too. And childlike curiosity. Curiosity is the best thing I can say has been like my greatest ally, is just being curious about things rather than like condemning them or having preconceived notions about things. Like I always want to understand, so I'm always looking at every single angle, and I would always overanalyze everything. But that's just type of my personality, because I wanted to know and understand, because like what the fuck was going on here, because it didn't make any sense, you know. And so it was always about curiosity. And then the next best thing is humor. We gotta laugh at ourselves, man. Like, gotta stop taking ourselves so seriously all the goddamn time, because we're fucking funny and we're silly fools and we're silly beings being so silly. So be so silly being. God. Like, just be silly and remember you're being silly. So it's okay. And then wondering about things, and then just being like in awe and wonder about like all these things, and about how they really are a miracle, and how we are too, and how we get to be, and the life gets to be, and we get to be part of this miraculous being. So, and then humility, remembering that we have our own limitations, we have our own shortcomings, our own blind spots. Yeah, and we don't need to beat ourselves up for that. And just like really remembering, like, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. And so like we've all been all parts, and we've all been all things, and we've all created like what is. And so we're all played a part in that and participating. And so what's our role that we get to play? What's our role we're going to show up for? What's our role we're going to choose? Is it an authentic role for us? Or is it something someone gave to us and said, here, play at being this, because we want you to, or whatever that is. So look at that. And then an open-hearted willingness, like just being open and receptive, like not telling ourselves how things have to happen, but just really putting it out there that we're willing. We are willing to receive, or we're willing to work on this, or we're willing to show up for it, or we're willing to ask for it, or we're willing to be with it, or willing to allow it. Whatever it is, I am willing. And that was like one of the statements or the agreements that like really freed up a lot of energy for me, like because it was all about agreements that we make and choices that we make. And instead of like maybe putting too much pressure on myself, and then like thinking I had to do it like all or nothing sort of way, and then like feeling like, oh, I just can't, like, because that's too much, or I'm not going to be able to achieve that or whatnot, and then never follow through with it. And so like to help like kind of dissolve and neutralize like that old pattern, it was just like, okay, I surrender how it has to be. I am willing to receive. And so like that freed up a lot of energy. And then I was always given the opportunity, like and the gift that I was willing to receive and ask for and notice and claim for me and choose for me. So yeah, that's as simple as that. Like being willing, and then being open to see when the opportunity or when the gift is being given, and then to act and to participate, to play your part in that and through that and with that. So yeah, and play. Because play, there's no wrong way to play, and that's kind of like what we really need. Play is a regenerative activity or expression, and we're fooling ourselves if we think that we don't need it or we don't have time for it, because it actually regenerates so much energy, and it puts a lot of life into ourselves for everything else that we're doing. So we get to take time to play if we're willing to choose that for ourselves. And so like there's no wrong way to play, like play with ourselves. But yeah, it's all about like really personal space and like playmates that we have, and like how do we create and cooperate and everything with our playmates, and or like our familiars, our allies, our support and all of that, are we playing at being something, or are we just playing being? I don't know. Like sometimes it's both, and that's kind of funny too. So, but we need a sacred space to be able to play and to create. And so, can we create that space, and where would that space be, and how would it be? And that's just like, part of the creative gift. Yeah, all of that. So, receptivity, being receptive to what wants to play, to what wants to come through, to what wants to create and be created through. And so, yeah, it's good too. So, like, what I started doing, of course, was just like the writing and stuff, and then like art stuff, like painting with colors, and exploring that, and really showing up for that, and starting to do collage. Collage was like a really, really huge thing that just exploded in my life, because it was really, I got so much from it, and I got so much from the images, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I didn't really understand it, but it felt really right to me, and and in certain ways, some of me did like understand certain things, and I was getting certain things, but I wasn't totally like comprehending how everything was connecting, relating, unfolding through like all this creativity. And it was just kind of funny, because making the space for like spirit and for that creative energy and that creative source, to be expressed and everything. And that's just kind of how it is and how it gets to be. And like, it's just kind of funny and magical to get back in tune with the magical child in me. So magical me. And so like lots of singing, of course. I've always loved singing, and helping me to free my voice in certain things. So I would sing different songs, but of course I would close myself up in my room, or sing in the shower, or sing when I was alone in the car, and just belt out things. And but like, it was always so scary to sing, or to express, or to be heard, like, because I was always afraid of judgment. So I really suppressed my voice and my energy, like when I was with other people, because it relates to trauma from when I was a child, from being too much or from being too loud, like in certain ways when I would sing. Like kind of like certain shaming, or certain that's not good enough, kind of like when you're coloring outside the lines. No, you got to do it this way. You can't do it that way or your way. You got to do it my way, or the correct way, and that's kind of like how we're conditioned to not like really just play, or just to express, like in certain ways. We feel like we have to do this grand thing in this perfect way, but really that's bullshit. So and just play. Yeah. And so art and creativity. Oh, and images. So images. Yeah, and that has to do with the imagination too, and dreaming. And so like envisioning, and imagination, and being, creating, being open to receive, and being willing. So I wrote down like just a lot of stuff to help me remember on this whiteboard, and it was called Empowering Tools for Embracing the Full. And so my little list is gratitude and awe, wonder and curiosity, miracles and magic always surrounding me, within and all around me. Hospitality, trust, goodwill, generosity, appreciation, faith, and reciprocity. Presence, reception, be here, allow. Faith is my generosity. So embrace life and love this. Praise, thanks, celebration, blessing, offering, expressing, all of this. Open willingness, surrender, participation, devotion, service, passion, love, trust, engagement, compassion, connection, relation, participation. Participate joyfully in the sorrows of the world, conscious agreements, relax, play, practice, let go. Honor the beauty, joy, and the pain, claim all my resources, and allow, share, receive. All for the integrity of the whole, you, me, we, and she. But now I would say me, we, thee, and she, probably. But yeah, anyway, it's great to play. Like, there's no wrong way to play and express. So play. allow the exchange, wake up and play. And so other tools that I would use very frequently and to help me correct some of my stories and some of my scripts, my descriptions, were affirmations and mantras and chants and creative self-expression, freeing my love and freeing my voice. And so like, yeah, I would pick affirmations that like resonated with me or that I felt like I was drawn to or were drawn to me. And then also like in my writing and my streaming, I would have like my own tailored affirmations of what I was working on, like my new agreements of like, I am true to myself. I am accountable to me. It's not up to me to control or manage how other people choose to receive, perceive, or see me and my energy. And that was like freeing to me, to help me like express and to help me like free myself a little bit more to become who I really was and to be more true to me. So yeah, it's not my job, or it's not up to me to manage how other people, how others are going to see, receive, or perceive me or my energy. And so like I get to remember that lately too. Like that's a good reminder. So other things that I was choosing and for my well-being, my wholeness, my whole new ways of being, I was creating my own rituals through play, and I didn't really understand, like, it was just something that I intuitively felt. It was totally through intuition, and that's kind of what I got. Like, a lot of my work will be completely through my intuition. It won't be through logic. It won't be through the traditional methods of certain things. And so I kind of just knew that going into it. Like, oh, cool, I get to really, like, play with my intuition and my imagination here. And so, yeah, that's what's been a lot. Like, and kind of letting go, because sometimes it is, like, scary, like, not even knowing and not being able to control. Sometimes that's, like, yeah, that's what we get to do. Like, where we get to make the space for love to come through. Love to come through and come forth through. So creating different rituals, like, and it was just funny stuff too, like where I would just have an idea, like, oh, I'm gonna go take a bath and I'm gonna set up crystals on each end, and like, and it was just kind of a play kind of a thing, but like it was really cool. It just all made sense and it just all came together, and I didn't have to plan or like script it out or anything, and it was perfect, and it was actually exactly what I needed for my healing. And so that was beautiful for me, like to be able to have those little things that really did alter my state of consciousness. And I do have like a couple things about ritual that I may bring up in my next video for inspired ideas, like, because it does, like, it's a huge part of like transformation and like welcoming in the new and birthing like the new through. And so a lot of prayer, like, because yeah, that was like what felt right for me, and like just connecting with that divinity and my Mother Earth and my God, my Father God, and like all the love that loves me and all the love that I am and all the love that we be. Yeah. And so I also let myself, I've always felt like kind of really awkward in my body sometimes, like, so there's like some things I suppressed because I knew it kind of attracted undesired attention in certain ways. And so, or I felt like just really kind of clumsy or ungraceful in certain ways. So it was, I didn't like to perform in front of anyone, or yeah. So I really never allowed myself to dance or really like express my body freely and do like, like those natural movements and whatnot. And so I did allow myself to like turn on music that I loved and just kind of like jump around, dance around, groove around, and like feel that, and like just feel how good that felt, and not worry about how it looked, but just kind of like focus on how I felt and what I was feeling and how it felt to move, and how it felt for the energy to move through or be expressed through me and stuff. And I definitely could use some more nourishment. I could choose that for myself, like in certain ways, but like it was really really great for me to choose for me. And then like more focus on breathing and meditation, and like really centering and really appreciating my breath too, and like connecting mind back to body, because I was always in my head thinking 1,000 miles an hour, like about everything on the hamster wheel. And it's just silly. I got really funny insights about that. About like, and that's when I started noticing the archetypes, where I would imagine like little things just out of the blue, or just get things through my imagination about like kind of what would this look like if it was a character, you know? And it's like this judge, this judge in his black robes and stuff, running on a hamster wheel, like just running. So yeah, it's kind of funny like how those things came up. And then I would always contemplate things. I've always been a deep thinker, and I'd always want to like understand where other people were coming from, or understand their experience, understand all sides of the story, because I am a mediator too, and a medium. So yeah, there's that. And I always like to contemplate different things and reflect on things. But what was new for me was deep listening, because I never knew how to do that really, or I've forgotten how. For deep listening, and maybe I'll share about that later. Reflecting about things, like certain things that I'm seeing, and then seeing how they relate to me, and like introspection, deep introspection going within, to like really like understand and ask questions, or just to be with me, and being willing to receive what wanted to come through, what wanted to be known, expressed, integrated, or healed, or allowed to be welcomed and met with love, because it was part of me. It was part of my story, part of my being. So I welcome that receptivity. And yeah, totally, it's all about asking questions. Yeah, we always get to learn more, and there's always more questions. So open to reception. So exploring stories, beliefs, myths, and narratives. And that's when I started exploring my own stories that I was getting, that I was seeing in different ways. And that was very rewarding, exploring all of those. Why do I believe this? Why do I not like this? I know I have my own preferences and prejudices, or whatever, biases, and that's okay for me to have, totally. Like, I have this personality for a reason. It's like one of my blueprints that I get to operate with. But like, yeah, really look into some of those things. And so you can always get a lot out of that, no matter what they are, like, and how they were formed, or maybe we don't even know where they came from too. So it's good to explore and good to ask those questions and just look into. Yeah, and visualizations, like visualizations for manifestation, and just visualizations just to project like certain qualities, images, gifts, love, and hold that image, you know. Oh yeah, and then getting familiar with nature again. Nature holds all the codes and the keys of creation and all of its operations. So connecting with nature and the cycles and the seasons, and it's all life's expressions. And that's when I started to look at like the cycles of growth and stagnation, and life, death, and rebirth, and got familiar with those again, because I was getting hits about how we needed to return to our roots, you know, for that reconnection, because we've been so disconnected. And so that's what I did for a couple years, was like learn all about like the Sabbats, the eightfold path, or the eightfold wheel of the year. And that's like a druidic system. It's an ancient system that's connected to the life cycles, and the farming cycles, and the growth cycles, and the light cycles. And then there's always cycles within cycles within cycles, and getting familiar with certain cycles, and then our own cycles, because we do have our own cycles too. We have our own patterns, but like as above, so below. And like getting familiar with all of that, because they all do relate. And so like if we can like learn, relearn, and reconnect in those ways, like, yeah, that's wholeness, and that's whole new ways, like linking the above and the below. So the light of the heavens and the light of the earth. Yeah, fun, just like whatever is fun, you know, like whatever is fun, love, fun, yum, loves. And beauty making, just creating, making beauty with our own beauty. and sharing that. Life is an adventure, so maybe widen your perspectives a little bit. How is this an adventure? How is this an opportunity for me? How is this a catalyst for my growth? Maybe it sucks, maybe it hurts. Okay, I can allow myself to be hurt or to feel like, yeah, to validate that and acknowledge that pain, you know. But like, what else is it as well? Like, yeah. So nourishing, yes. I realized that I needed to nourish myself and that I had been starving myself. And so that's why my top 10 turn-ons, and then like really giving myself permission to nourish myself and to be well and to choose things that supported my health, my true health, and my well-being. And so I also, attention, focusing my attention. Where am I putting my attention? Like, what have I been paying attention to? Yeah, so like looking at that. And then rest as well. Like, I never really gave myself enough time to rest, and I went, yeah, and I realized that I had been choosing that too, like in certain ways that I was unaware of. It's kind of funny when I realized, oh my God, I'm choosing insomnia, because I was always drinking caffeine until like freaking 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And of course I'm not going to be able to sleep. Like, when it comes around to like 11, 12, you know, like, that's just silly. But like, I didn't realize, like, you know, some of these things that were just not working for me. Yeah, I got to learn, you know, like, so willingness and being accountable, accountability. And so, and then also like with the focus, what's my focus? Focus on love and possibilities, teachers, friends, and allies, gifts, blessings, opportunities, and all the lessons that are being presented and available for me and we. You know, because that's the lessons help us like cultivate and appreciate our limitations too, and like help develop our strengths and yeah, help us participate. Yeah. And so one other thing, yeah, it's paying attention to dreams. It's my dream journal that I'm writing in now. Like, dreams are always good to look at and record and investigate and just, yeah, receive what's being offered, because yeah, it's very interesting to look into. Very interesting insights about, yeah, a lot of things. And it's another irrational kind of a language that we get to relearn again, like through like symbols and archetypes and everything. And so for my next video, I'll probably introduce you guys to the archetypes like that I play with, or like just kind of what I have gathered and all of that, and yeah, some other tools and things to play with. And yeah, I have some personal stories to share as well. Yeah, but thank you for joining me to share all this well. And yeah, it's been fun, and it's been like a long a long 4 years, but it's like, it's kind of funny that 4 comes up again. I have so many 4s in my chart, where that's the Emperor, and that's structure and stability and reforming and reordering and all that. And so it's divine action as well, you know. So it's kind of funny that all this work that I've done in the last 4 years, oh my God, I really needed it to be here now. You know. Yeah, so really structuring or building a solid foundation to build new structures of integrity for the whole. And so I'm grateful I get to do that, and I'm grateful for this work and this journey, like, and everything that it's given me. And it's like, yeah, there's so much. But a few things that like I want to offer too, like the soul collage, like that's just like one modality of how you can do this. I have my own thing too, and like there's probably so many other systems. It's unlimited. It's like there's no wrong way to play. And if there's like over 250 ways to do the dishes, I'm sure there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 ways to do art, and like, or you know, just infinite ways to do like this kind of a thing, you know, like with the creativity and the collage and stuff. Like there are like so many different ways that we can explore, like with play. And then that's like kind of reminds me of like Jungian sand play, and like how we just like kind of play with symbols or objects, and then those things can tell us certain things about what is happening in our inner space and how it relates to the object or the symbols that we just placed, you know. And that's really freaking amazing too. And there's all sorts of things we can do, like with divination and stuff. And there's all sorts of tools. And like, I love my medicine cards because I love my animal friends. And I love playing with color, and I love expressing me. Like, I don't know if you can tell that. Like, I always did love expressing me, like with what I could do and be. But like, I never really thought I had like a creative talent, like to share or to free or to receive or anything. But like, that was just silly because we all do. We're all creators, and we all have our gifts to give and cultivate and appreciate and honor and share and give and receive and be and express through being, through our whole ways of being, through being all we are, being who we are, loving who we are, freeing who we are, living and embodying who we are. So, yay. How great is that? It's all of that. So, thanks for listening, and I'm grateful that I got to share and I got to receive all of this beauty, like for me and for giving. So, love and blessings always, and take good care of you, and I'll talk to you again soon, okay? Be well. Ciao for now.